Once upon a time, in the grand city of Istanbul, there lived a mighty ruler named Sultan Mahmud. He was a curious sultan, always pondering the ways of the world and his people. He often wondered about things like fate, luck, and destiny. Are some people truly born unlucky, he would ask his viziers, or do they simply fail to see the chances given to them? His wise men would offer various opinions, stroking their long beards and quoting from ancient books, but the Sultan remained unconvinced by mere words. He wanted to see for himself, to conduct an experiment of sorts, to truly understand the nature of what people called qismet, or one's allotted fortune in life. The Sultan decided he needed a subject for his grand experiment. He instructed his men to find him the most unfortunate soul in the entire city. It did not take them long. They found a man whose life was a long series of mishaps and failures. He worked hard from dawn until dusk, yet he barely had enough bread to feed his family. Every venture he started ended in disaster. Every hope he harbored was quickly extinguished. People in his neighborhood would shake their heads and say, "Poor fellow, his fortune is sealed shut." He was the perfect candidate, a man whose bad luck was legendary among those who knew him. The Sultan summoned this man to his magnificent palace. The poor fellow arrived trembling with fear, his clothes worn and his spirit heavy with a lifetime of disappointment. He expected a punishment for some unknown crime. Instead, Sultan Mahmud greeted him with a thoughtful expression. The Sultan explained that he believed the man's fortunes were about to change. He told him that he, the mighty Sultan, would personally intervene to open his qismet. The man listened, a glimmer of hope fighting against years of ingrained pessimism. Could it be true? Could the most powerful man in the land really change the course of his miserable life? The stage was set for the Sultan's first test. He wanted to start with something simple, a direct gift that would be impossible to misuse or lose. He believed that by providing a clear and valuable opportunity, he could prove that fortune was not a mystical force, but a matter of seizing the chances presented. The Sultan was confident that his wealth and power could easily overcome whatever bad luck plagued this ordinary man. He was about to learn a profound lesson, one that would challenge his understanding of power, destiny, and the very limits of a sultan's command over the world. For the first test, Sultan Mahmud ordered his royal chefs to prepare a magnificent tray of baklava. This was no ordinary dessert. The pastry was made with the finest pistachios and drizzled with the sweetest honey syrup. But hidden inside one of the diamond-shaped pieces was a pouch filled with glistening gold coins. The Sultan presented the heavy tray to the man. "Take this," he commanded. "Sell this baklava in the market, but be sure to keep one piece for yourself and your family to enjoy tonight." The Sultan was certain the man would pick the piece with the gold and his life would change forever. The man, grateful for this seemingly simple task, took the heavy tray and headed towards the bustling city market. He walked through the streets, calling out, "Sweet baklava from the Sultan's palace." But his luck, as always, had other plans. As he walked, he passed the grand mansion of a wealthy pasha. The pasha's wife, who was feeling unwell, had a sudden, intense craving for baklava. She sent her servant out with a simple instruction: "Go buy that entire tray of baklava. Do not leave a single piece behind." The servant rushed out, paid the man a handsome price for the whole tray, and took it inside, leaving the poor man with some silver coins, but without the one piece that held the golden treasure. Undeterred by this initial hiccup, Sultan Mahmud devised a second plan. He knew the man had to cross a specific wooden bridge on his way home every evening. The Sultan ordered his guards to place a large, heavy bag filled with gold coins right in the middle of the bridge's path. It was impossible to miss. Surely, the Sultan thought, no one can walk across that bridge and not see a giant sack of gold. He was convinced that this time fortune would have no choice but to smile upon the man. He waited with anticipation to hear the news of the man's incredible discovery. That evening, as the unlucky man approached the bridge, a thought crossed his mind. "For years I have walked across this bridge every single day. I know every plank, every nail, every splinter by heart. I wonder," he mused to himself, "if I could cross it with my eyes closed." And so, for the first time in his life, he decided to test himself. He shut his eyes tightly and carefully made his way across the entire length of the bridge, stepping right over the large bag of gold without ever knowing it was there. He reached the other side, proud of his small, meaningless accomplishment, while his fortune lay abandoned behind him. The Sultan was now growing frustrated, but his curiosity was stronger than ever. He couldn't believe the man's astounding ability to sidestep good fortune. For his third test, he decided on a more direct approach. He gave the man a large, heavy wooden hoop. "Take this hoop," the Sultan said. "Go to the edge of the city, to the old abandoned field. Stand there and throw this hoop as far as you can. Where it lands, start digging. The treasure you find there will be yours." This plan seemed foolproof. It required a simple action that would lead directly to wealth. There was no room for chance or misinterpretation. The man took the heavy hoop and walked to the designated field. He stood at the edge, looked out over the overgrown weeds and prepared to throw. He swung his arm back, putting all his strength into the motion. He imagined the hoop flying far into the distance, landing on a spot that held his destiny. However, just as he was about to release it, a palace guard on a fast horse came galloping by. In a moment of pure, unbelievable misfortune, the man threw the hoop perfectly, but it ended up flying directly over the neck of the guard's horse. The guard, startled, spurred his horse and galloped away, with the hoop now dangling from its neck like a bizarre necklace. Sultan Mahmud was at his wits' end. He had tried giving the man hidden wealth, obvious wealth, and a map to wealth. Every attempt had failed in the most spectacular and unlikely way. He decided on one final, ultimate test. He brought the man into his royal treasury, a room overflowing with mountains of gold, silver, and precious jewels. "This is it," the Sultan declared, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "I will not interfere anymore. Take this shovel and fill this sack with whatever you want. Everything you can carry out of here is yours to keep." The poor man's eyes widened at the sight of such unimaginable riches. He was paralyzed with disbelief. For the first time, he stood face to face with a fortune so immense it could change the lives of 10 generations. He grabbed the shovel, his hands trembling. He plunged it into a great pile of golden coins. But as he did, a wave of greed and anxiety, feelings he had never known, washed over him. The excitement was too much. His heart pounded in his chest, his head spun, and he fainted, falling unconscious onto the cold, hard floor with his empty sack beside him and the shovel still clutched in his hand. When the man was revived and sent home with nothing but a headache, Sultan Mahmud finally sat down in his throne room, defeated and deeply humbled. He had used all his power, all his wealth and all his cleverness to change one man's destiny, and he had failed completely. He realized that there were forces in the universe far beyond the control of even the most powerful sultan. A person's qismet, their preordained lot in life, was not something that could be rewritten by royal decree or a bag of gold. It was a profound and humbling lesson for a ruler accustomed to having his every command obeyed without question. The Sultan understood that his role was not to force fortune upon people, but to rule justly and create a society where people had the opportunity to make the most of whatever fate had given them. He couldn't give a man luck, but he could ensure the laws were fair. He couldn't make a man see a bag of gold, but he could ensure the bridge was safe to cross. He learned that true power was not about bending destiny to his will, but about wisely governing within the boundaries that destiny had set for everyone, including himself. His experiment had taught him more about his own limitations than it had about the unlucky man's. This story, passed down through generations, became a cornerstone of Turkish wisdom. It perfectly illustrates the meaning behind a very famous and often quoted proverb. The saying captures the essence of the Sultan's experience, a truth he learned through his frustrating and failed experiments. It serves as a reminder to people from all walks of life that while effort and opportunity are important, there is an element of destiny that is simply beyond human control. It teaches humility in the face of forces we cannot see or command, a lesson as valuable for a sultan as it is for a commoner. And so, whenever someone tries to help another who seems unable to catch a break, or when a great effort yields no result, the people would sigh and shake their heads knowingly. They would remember the tale of the Sultan and his unlucky subject. They would utter the timeless words that summarized the entire affair, a proverb that has echoed through the ages. Vermeinche Mabut, Nelesin Sultan Mahmud? This translates to, if God does not will it, what can even Sultan Mahmud do? It is the ultimate acknowledgement that some things are simply not meant to be, no matter who tries to make them happen.